Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Please come on in and find your seat. We are so happy, Mark, good to see you. We are so happy to have you here joining us this evening. Come on in, grab your seat. We're getting this thing started on time. Welcome, everyone. Tonight is truly a special occasion. We are about to go on a journey through time with the Community Foundation, and we are so thrilled to have you here with us tonight, celebrating our 40th anniversary. That is 40 years. That is remarkable. By the way, if you don't know already, my name is Matt Morton, and I have the distinct pleasure of being the president of the Community Foundation for Southwest Washington. Oh, please. So this evening, first and foremost, is a celebration of the bright future we have ahead of us. The bright future that has been made possible by the 40 years of service of this community and the Community Foundation working together. To touch on all of this, and you're gonna have to pay attention because it does get a little complicated, but to touch on all of this, our program is divided in 3 acts. There's going to be a couple of intermissions in there and some musical interludes by this amazing jazz band. Thank you so much. Coordinated through the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. So we're going to begin tonight by honoring our past through memories and stories of our formative years. These moments, including your own experiences with the Community Foundation, will bring us into the present, which is the focus of our second act. This segment will illustrate how the last decade has helped shape how we are responding today. And finally, we'll share with how this entire journey is shaping our future. And actually, being present here tonight is a part of that future work because conversation and connection help us build community and rediscover that shared purpose that we all have. And in fact, purpose is going to play a big role in tonight's theme. For the Community Foundation, our purpose is making Southwest Washington a better place for everyone. That goal led Mary Granger to found this organization, and it has guided our efforts ever since. We know that that purpose is in your heart as well. You care about Southwest Washington, and we do all we can to help this community thrive by giving what we have to advance our local causes. So please just allow me a few moments to recognize a couple of groups that have contributed to tonight. There's a very long list of sponsors who chose to honor this occasion with gifts of time and treasure. And I'd first like to give a big thank you to our anniversary sponsors. Beaches. Beaches has served the community just as long as they've been serving up food and fun. That is a great line. I'm available for commercials. Mark. Their efforts have provided more than $3.5 million to local causes through the Beaches Community Fund. And by the way, 30 years of volunteerism through events like Books and Bites, Beaches Cruising, and their holiday meal programs. Mark and Allie are here tonight. Thank you so much for everything you do and have done for this community. And the Cowlitz Indian Tribe, the Cowlitz Tribal Foundation Clark County Fund, and Aileen Casino Resort. While it would be really impossible for me to quantify the contributions that the Forever people, the Cowlitz, have made to this region, we thank them so much for their support tonight and the nearly 22 million charitable dollars they have put into Clark County since 2017. Councilwoman Timmy Russin is here with us tonight. Timmy, thank you so much for not just your partnership and support, but your friendship as well. Thank you. Yes, let's give them all, actually, a good round of applause. Our sustaining sponsors include friends, fellow grant makers, financial institutions, and just some of the longest time supporters we've had. A couple of them are sharing impact stories tonight, so you'll get to hear more about their unique partnerships with the Community Foundation. We also have a dozen partner sponsors. In addition to supporting events like this, these sponsors promote charitable planning with their clients. They give back through board service and other community engagement activities all throughout the year. And then lastly, our photo, media, and entertainment sponsors. You've already enjoyed some of their contributions in the photo booth and through, of course, again, our live jazz presented by the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. And we know that the support of our sponsors extends far beyond these walls and into our communities through the relationships they build and the broad support they provide. So please, let's give these community-minded folks another big round of applause. Then there's our board of directors and our committee members who help guide us. They weigh in on critical decisions for the organization and in issues surrounding charitable gifts, grant making, financial stewardship, scholarships, and just so much more. And there are too many to name, but we have managed to list a lot of them on the screens behind me, as well as the thank you slides that you'll see during the break. And for those of you in the room tonight, regardless of when you served as a part of a volunteer or a board or what have you with the Community Foundation, I would like you to stand. Can you stand and be recognized? If you've served at any time with the Community Foundation. No one is standing, please. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And that is really just a glimpse of the 40 years of volunteerism that have helped advance this Community Foundation's work. And many others, of course, have contributed as well. And you can see we got a pretty good turnout tonight. This room is absolutely filled with donors and nonprofits and community champions. And whether you're representing a business, an agency, an elected office, or just repping your community, we value your partnership, we value your sense of purpose, and particularly your commitment to this place, Southwest Washington. As we gather to celebrate the generous and caring people who make this region so special, we must also acknowledge those who have stewarded this place since time immemorial. To do that, I'd like to invite Juliette Fernandez to the stage. Juliette is a refuge manager for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, where she oversees operations at 4 national wildlife refuges across our region, including Steigerwald Lake and Ridgefield, locations that Community Foundation fund holders have helped develop in various ways over the years. If you haven't had a chance to explore these local treasures, I just encourage you to do so. And I know Juliette's words will inspire you even more, so let's give her a warm welcome.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm humbled to be among your giving hearts and causes. Every day, as I walk the Refuge trails, I reflect. I feel grateful to be conserving and restoring the lands around me. Beyond that, I feel honored to be among the many stewards, especially the many tribes of the Northwest. The bones of their ancestors still rest in these soils. We are at a powerful moment in time where ancestral lands and tribes are being acknowledged, often for the first time. The Cowlitz Indian tribe, the Chinook Indian Nation, and the Confederated Tribes of Grand Round are all tribes that have expressed that these lands are traditionally, culturally, and spiritually part of them. Tonight, it's an honor to be on the lands of the Cowlitz. I'm reminded daily that the Ridgefield Refuge is home to the Capeloto Plank House, representing the many houses of the nearby Capeloto village. Built with our tribal partners and funded in part by the Community Foundation donors, the Plank House is a hand planed from cedar and fed by fire, people, and song. Our partners share that the house is a living tribal member, representing the people of this land, the land that welcomes us here tonight. My background is in wildlife biology. I've memorized countless scientific names of animals, but my connection to the land didn't start there. As a child, I wandered with my great aunt, the nature matriarch of our family, and together we walked while the birds gifted us their song and the trees gifted us their fruit. This practice of intergenerational teaching and connection to the land and each other has long been practiced. Similarly, in working with my tribal partners in Arizona, I learned the origin stories of the mountains and the lessons from the coyotes. The tribes in New Mexico taught me that the bison brought the rain. And in Washington, they taught me that the river is life-giving, and they taught me the history of a people that are still very much here. Members of these tribes have become more than teachers to me, they're my friends. Our relationships have grown through reciprocity and respect. Similarly, our words and promises have turned into action, and together we're making change. Cowlitz biologists helped us restore oak woodland habitat by removing fir trees and creating salmon habitat. We're planting wapato with the Chinook, a first food that's important to all of our tribal partners. And we're testing the wapato for safe consumption along with the Grand Round. We collaborate on education and outreach, sharing the biological and cultural significance of the wildlife and their habitats. And the Cowlitz and the Chinook both have board members on our Friends group that help support refuge operations. As we gather here today to recognize the difference we can make in this region, we must also acknowledge the stewards long past whose wisdom continues to guide their descendants today. By listening, caring, restoring our communities together, we can accomplish so much more. Tonight, I do not wish to speak for our tribal partners, but I speak to honor their land, its origins, and all that they contribute. I'd like to thank them for allowing this space to gather so that we may celebrate in unity and support and the amazing spirit of giving. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juliette. That was such a good reminder that stewardship is part of every generation's work, and one that requires respect of each other at all times. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jo Marie Hansen.
And I'm Steve Hansen. Together, Jo Marie and I have served on the board of directors for over 2 decades. If you do the math, you would think that we must know at least half what's gone on here in the Community Foundation.
That might be a little generous, but it does show our age. I never had the privilege of meeting our founder, Mary Granger, but I do know from stories I've heard that she was a caretaker at heart, a loving mother who understood the joys, the rewards, and the challenges of raising her children. And we're lucky to have Janice, John, and Mark Granger here with us tonight at this good celebration. While Mary had a very warm heart, especially for local youth, I've heard it said that she was also one tough cookie. She didn't take no for an answer, and she never had to, because she knew who to ask and when to ask them. It's reported that she once said, "If you want something done in this city, go ask a guy named Ed," referring to the late Ed Lynch, or maybe it was Ed Furstenberg. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it was both. Yeah. And there were many others on Mary's Rolodex to ask people for it. She had an incredible group of advocates behind her, but that didn't make starting a foundation during a recession any easier. Mary and the board had to roll up their sleeves early on, start serving the community in whatever way they could. They organized a local effort for the Hands Across America, started a Teacher of the Year program, and has partnered with the PUD in launching Operation Warm Heart.
Slowly, through goodwill, they built trusted relationships, and the giving began coming in. In its first 5 years, the Community Foundation processed 12,000 gifts and raised $2 million. A decade later, only 10 years later, exemplary donors like George and Carolyn Propstra, Ray Hickey, and Nancy and Wes LaMotta started giving bigger sums to the community, and our region grew. As a community, we turned what was once a small, flickering light into a bright, shining constellation of giving.
To capture this journey, the Community Foundation has asked some longtime supporters to share their perspectives. Let's see what they have to say. Screen.
I think the thing that amazes me the most about the Community Foundation's journey is that it was born out of just an idea, this spark. And that spark really at its core was around the community saying, we're going to do this ourselves.
Southwest Washington is a community. When there's an unmet need in this community, we pull together and we make good things happen.
I found it to be just a really warm community and a very giving community.
There's just this undercurrent of care that people have for their neighbors and the well-being of this community. It's just a cool place to live.
In the mid-1980s, this was a difficult time for our community, and it was a difficult time across the country. It was a recession. There were people who were struggling.
We knew we had charitable individuals and businesses in this community, but we had no way to really direct those resources.
People in the community were willing to step in if we could just give them the vehicle that made sense for them. One of our early founders, Mary Granger, had learned about endowment funding and brought that here.
Mary was the epitome of the kind of people that I kept meeting who were part of this idea of how do we make this community better.
One of the questions, I think, in those early years was the real role of the Community Foundation. Were we only going to house endowed funds and award a 5% payout, or were we really going to use philanthropy to change people's lives and to make communities better? And a number of our philanthropists and our friends, they wanted to use their assets and their wealth to make change today. And we can see the results of that.
Our mission was to target segments of the population which were at the greatest risk of being left behind, and that continues through this day.
I think the foundation has evolved to where it's an educational source for people. It's a good resource for nonprofits. It's a way to connect donors to the critical needs in the community. It's kind of this all-encompassing organization that sees the needs out there, and it just brings people together.
The Community Foundation has established itself in a way that it will be able to continue to give to the community and make the community stronger in a lot of different ways.
I think what excites me the most about where we're at right now is that we get to step into the next 40 years with all of those relationships intact, those resources available to us, and the opportunity ahead of us where there are more resources, there's more abundance, and there's more opportunity for us to really respond to and engage and support this dynamic community in Southwest Washington.
This organization was built by local people to address local needs. So it's no surprise that the Community Foundation is a reflection of our community's values. Traits like care, collaboration, determination, and ingenuity.
Engaging with this organization as both board members and as donors, we have seen these strengths that Steve just mentioned come out and be visible so many times. One of my fond memories of that period when I first was on the board was of sitting on the Community Grant Committee. It was 2001, and Nancy Hales, was president at the time. And I was struck by how many nonprofits there were in this area, and all doing such a big variety of different works. On one occasion, if the grant committee, well, actually more than one occasion, if the grant committee couldn't fund a specific request, Ann DeGenis and other staff members would pass that on to donors who might have a special interest in that area, and it got funded. I miss those times, and I even miss that building that we used to be in on Officers Row. It was beautiful, but oh, there were so many steps. Nancy's office was on the main floor. To get to Ann, you went off a narrow staircase around the corner to a darker office. And to get to Maury, you went outside, across the porch, down the breezeway, and into his office. My time on the board opened my eyes to the number of groups, both large and small, who wanted to help Clark County and Cowlitz County and Skamania County thrive. It's almost overwhelming, the work that gets done, but the Community Foundation makes sense of it all. Their knowledge of the work that each group does and how they do it, and the directors, is just astounding. They excel at building relationships with both their donors and with nonprofits.
My experience was quite different than Jo Marie's. She saw and was impressed and even in awe of the hard work and the compassion that both the nonprofits in Southwest Washington and the foundation staff put into their work. But I was on the finance committee, and we saw a lot of numbers, so it was pretty dry. But what I also got to see was the generosity of our donors, those who established bequests and opened donor advice funds. One of the more interesting responsibilities for the Finance Committee was to review complex gifts and make sure it was prudent for us to accept them. In that context, staff brought an estate gift to us to look over, which included dozens of single home rental properties. And on first blush, it was very intriguing, but was way out of our expertise at the foundation. And so kind of stalled for a little bit, but I'm pleased to report that after many months of hard work, we were able to accept this gift into a field of interest fund, which supports affordable housing. The effects of this gift are going to go on for years to come. And over my 10 years on the board, our charitable assets grew from $60 million to over $300 million. And that was why they gave away $100 million during that same time period. So you could see the generosity of what was coming in the door. That growth is a tribute to the staff, donors, and nonprofits involved here.
Wow. If you think about it, Mary Granger had a part in making all of these stories possible because she found her purpose and she put it to good use. She helped many others live out their purpose in philanthropy, whether that meant supporting parks, food support, education, or housing, and the list goes on and on.
Each of us here has our own passions, talents, contributions to add, and the Community Foundation is ripe with opportunities. From donors and nonprofit leaders to educators and community champions, the Community Foundation empowers all sorts of people to reimagine what's possible and create greater impact in the Southwest Washington area.
Another former board member and longtime community donor, Paul Christensen, is a shining example. He's helped set the organization on its path at the very beginning, but has also spent decades since being a donor in this community. To share more about his story, we'd like to welcome David Fuhrer and Robin Bradford to the stage. Thank you.
Good evening. Well, David, here we are. 2 retired Realvest employees, not yet ready to completely give it up. Paul Christensen started Realvest Corporation in 1969. When he hired me, I never expected to be considered family. But that's the culture Paul built. Even through years of growth, that feeling of family still exists at Realvest. Paul's circle of care broadened when he made his first substantial gift to the community in the 1980s. I remember the day. A banker named Tom Young and Harriet Wilson, a community advocate, today we might call her a community influencer, they came to the office and they asked Paul to help support building the first Goodwill facility in Clark County. Paul believed in the project and said yes on the spot. After that first commitment, it became exceedingly apparent that there were so many worthy causes in our community. And so it began, a steady stream of giving and support that has brightened countless lives.
Paul began to see the Vancouver community as his broader extended family. He became an early champion of the Community Foundation and established not only a donor-advised fund, but an unrestricted endowment to support its community grants program. Their focus areas align closely with Paul's heart for education and underserved communities, and the thoughtful process ensures that solid nonprofit organizations are being supported. Rather than make all our corporate giving decisions unilaterally, Paul saw an opportunity to grow the culture of services and leadership within the company. A committee was formed to manage the program. We set a budget, and Realvest employees make grants to the areas of education, the underserved, arts, and civic causes. As this committee rotates, more of our team learns the joy and responsibility of community philanthropy.
Today, Paul and Realvest fingerprints can be seen in many places, like opening the first Boys and Girls Clubhouse in Southwest Washington, growing the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra, assisting the Vancouver Housing Authority and Council for the Homeless, envisioning a Southwest Washington Center for the Performing Arts, creating beauty on downtown street corners with tasteful landscaping and even a well-kissed redwood frog sculpture. At the center of it all is the Houck neighborhood. This is where Paul grew up. His family home sat adjacent to the Houck Elementary School, a place where we are told he made quite an impression. Regardless of what transpired, Paul remembers his experiences there fondly, which is why he worked tirelessly and gave generously to establish the Houck Foundation in 1992. This organization continues to help Houck school children and their families find pathways to success and stability. They provide extra classroom assistance, teacher support, housing assistance, counseling, therapy dogs, and after-school arts and music programs. Paul has always believed in the importance of music. A visionary, never lacking for ideas, he even built a swimming pool next to the school with the belief that every child should have an opportunity to swim and have fun. The Houck Pool was in operation for over a decade. Today, the building has found a new life as the Houck Early Childhood Learning Center.
Yes, Paul has always been known for his unique ideas. I remember this being described perfectly years ago when Ed Lynch presented him with an award. Ed stated that Paul always had trouble coloring within the lines of the box because Paul never knew there was a box. Years ago, his creativity sparked another novel idea that recently came to fruition. For those of you who don't know, Realvest Corporation is an asset management company that owns, operates, and develops apartment communities. This involves a team of loyal and often long-term employees who depend on Realvest for their livelihood and professional growth. In a one-of-a-kind partnership between Realvest and the Community Foundation, the Realvest Foundation was formed to allow the business to continue supporting its staff while also supporting the community in an even greater way. Funded entirely through the corporation's profits, the Realvest Foundation's sole purpose is to support the community long into the future. In 2024, the Foundation's first year of operations, $296,000 will fund charitable activities across our community. Some say this is a framework demonstrating good corporate social responsibility. For Paul, it's simply a way to give to the community that has always given him, his immediate and extended Realvest family, so much. As for us, we think it's a framework that others might want to consider too. Paul, can you stand, please? On behalf of your company and community families, Robin and I would like to thank you. Your bright ideas and steady support will continue making local lives better long into the future. We're also grateful to the Community Foundation team for helping us make this complicated process more than manageable. Congratulations, Community Foundation, for 40 years, and happy 90th birthday, Paul. Thank you. Go.
Thank you, Robin and David, and thank you, Paul, for coloring outside the box. We are honored to be your creative thought partner. I'm Janie Spurgeon. In my role as Chief Development Officer, I get the honor of helping people realize their charitable goals. As you heard, Paul's story is one of love. For him, that love is his childhood stomping grounds and the kids walking in his footsteps today. It's also a love of music, art, and so much more. This same love is expressed in thousands of ways every year at the Community Foundation. Behind every gift is a caring heart that adds light to the world through kindness, generosity, and a desire to improve lives. Each year, we honor those who have brightened our universe by giving through and to the Community Foundation. Tonight, we will remember 9 giving stars who we were lucky to have with us. Some were close friends of ours, and others were gone before we could thank them. Their stories are diverse and include individuals like a Clark County First Citizen who founded Open House Ministries, a Parks employee whose legacy honors his wife's love of swimming, and a longtime grocer whose family opened up one of our first endowments at the Community Foundation, and a math tutor, and a mother with a huge heart, and a son and brother whose kindness knew no bounds. Please join me in honoring them here tonight. Present with us and will live long into the future. Giving stories like this are often written during one's lifetime. Others begin beyond the confines of life as a legacy gift. And sometimes it's both. And in every case, their impact stretches far beyond any gift. Just like the shimmer in our stars takes millions of years to reach us, the generosity of generations past isn't fully recognized until many decades later. We must remember this tonight as we celebrate our progress. Hundreds of caring residents have had the vision to establish a charitable legacy through the Community Foundation. Every one of them has helped our organization and countless other causes shine brighter. You can find a few of their stories in your printed program, which I encourage you to browse as we take a break for dinner. As you do, remember that each of us can also create rays of light that will guide and inspire others 40 years from now. So now, let's enjoy dinner and, of course, some music.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Can everyone hear me? Let's get a round of applause for everyone for joining us tonight. Woohoo. All right, well, welcome back. If you couldn't tell, 30 years has just passed by in the blink of an eye, and yet somehow you all haven't aged a bit. You look fantastic. I'm Karissa Lowe. I'm a proud board member of the Community Foundation.
And I'm John Dieter. I'm the board chair of the Community Foundation. And you are all now sitting in the present, which you probably knew already, but at least what we're calling the present, which actually covers the 10 years since our last anniversary in 2014.
And that might feel strange, but it's because so very much has happened. Orchestrating a massive COVID relief effort, organizing 9 giving days, presenting 22 philanthropy awards, establishing 167 funds, awarding 2,569 scholarships. And granting more than $172 million, right? Yeah, we know. That level of giving is the result of our community's continued care and generosity. So let's give ourselves some kudos.
While impressive, there's a deeper story behind these numbers. On the evolution, in 2014, under the leadership of Jennifer Rhodes, and let's give her a hand. Our board and staff recognized the Community Foundation and stood at the critical juncture. To better address the local challenges, we need to become more than a charitable clearinghouse for Southwest Washington. We needed to provide greater impact for our donors and communities, and it was time to evolve for a new era of community philanthropy.
And that decision meant doubling down on our strengths and experimenting with new strategies, all in pursuit of our original purpose. We convened diverse groups to talk about housing. We hired a dedicated program officer to build new partnerships and elevate our strategic grant making. We dipped our toes into advocacy work to support Vancouver's Affordable Housing Fund.
And to sum it all up, the foundation reached deeper into communities and engaged in different ways. Our goal to learn more about the local needs and do more good with our region's charitable dollars. What we learned from our partners and saw in the data wasn't new, but it was concerning. Large segments of our community were facing immense barriers that were holding them back from pursuing their purpose.
More than that, we saw the devastating effects of those barriers. Inequitable outcomes across every indicator of a healthy life. Education, employment, housing, the list goes on. The pandemic made matters even worse. If you had a chance to read our founder's story tonight, you'll know that when Mary Granger saw a problem, she acted. We did the same. We began embedding equitable practices into our grant making, which channeled funding toward historically underserved communities throughout our region. The results? Yes, woo! Woo! Huzzah, woo, indeed. The results have been impressive.
Philanthropy has always been focused on providing a hand up and filling gaps. Today, thanks to our community partners and the committee members, we know better than ever where those gaps exist and who it is sitting just out of reach. Even better, we can often pinpoint the root cause. By applying our collective knowledge and expertise, we're absolutely doing more good. And the more we can do together, the more we can impact and create. Oops, wrong.
Dramatic pause.
Dramatic pause.
Okay, so we can stand up here and talk about philosophy and approach, but what matters is how it shows up in our community. So let's hear from our partners and our grantees and see what they are seeing from the Community Foundation today.
The Community Foundation's approach is really one of balance. We know that we need to continue to address the urgent needs, the material needs of our community today. We can't lose sight of that. But we also know that we have to go upstream and look at the systems that are creating these disparities, these challenges in the first place.
There have been many changes across Southwest Washington, even in the short term, economically, demographically, and more. One of the opportunities we have as funders is to really look at that critically and think about what are we doing that is truly addressing access to the most vital resources that people need.
The simple example of access to higher education. To this day, we still have communities who don't even know what that path looks like.
Whether it's health, education, homelessness, economic opportunities that have been just out of reach, we have the opportunity to really be the catalyst in driving solutions to those challenges. And we don't do it alone. In fact, we have a really strong opinion that within the communities that are experiencing these challenges are actually the solutions.
In a diverse community or region like Southwest Washington, communities often know what they need and they're the best experts of the changes that systems can make to help drive those needs for positive improvement. One of the opportunities that I think we have in front of us is to really invest in a workforce dedicated to and from the communities that they're serving.
Not only have we been recipients of funding from the Community Foundation, the Community Foundation was an early adopter of Latino Leadership Northwest. And because of their generosity, we have been able to remain resilient and also have the ability to evolve over time. The scholarship program at the Community Foundation has been a great benefit to many students here in Southwest Washington. The Community Foundation has leaned in to trust nonprofit organizations who are doing the work, and they see the evidence out in community when we're making change.
I think the work of the Community Foundation has really promoted actionable resiliency across our communities of Southwest Washington over its last 40 years.
The Community Foundation thrives because of our donors and our fund holders. It thrives because of the community organizations that we get to partner with on a daily basis. The future of the Community Foundation is going to be targeted and it's going to be focused on impact. Everything we do is going to guide us back into our vision and our mission for a flourishing and just community.
Our team is stronger than ever and poised to continue building on the last 40 years of impact, including the lessons that we've learned in this past decade. We've reimagined our grant making. We're building an approach centered on trust, transparency, and partnership so that we can better respond to emerging needs and address longstanding and systemic issues.
We're engaging donors in collaborative funding opportunities and finding creative solutions to maximize charitable impact. As we evolved over the last decade, we're also experienced truly remarkable growth. By partnering with local donors to inspire giving and acting as sound stewards of your community foundation, we have generated $387 million for future giving.
But now, you've heard enough from us. To hear the story behind one of the more transformative gifts that defined our growth over the last decade, we'd like to invite Greg Goodwin, Board Chair of the Kuni Foundation, to the stage. Thank you so much.
Conveniently, to make it easy for me, they put my comments under G, so thank you for that. Good evening. I'm here to tell you about a couple who dramatically changed the trajectory of my life. By the end, you'll see how their vision is transforming lives and how the Community Foundation helped make more of their good work possible. That couple is Wayne and Joan Kuni. They grew up in Detroit, the Motor City, and they moved to Beaverton, Oregon in 1969 to start a Cadillac dealership. Joan devoted her time to raising their 4 children, 2 of whom, Stephen and Michael, experienced intellectual and developmental disabilities. At a time when parents were pushed to institutionalize children with disabilities, Joan became an early and fierce advocate for inclusion. Kuni Automotive grew, and Wayne became a respected member of the business community. He was committed to service, sitting on boards at Northwest Natural, the OHSU Foundation, Shriners Hospital for Children, Linfield College, United Way Columbia Willamette, Portland Downtown Rotary Club, and the Portland Chamber of Commerce. Wayne's leadership was sought after because he knew business, but he knew people even better. This was Wayne's superpower. He carefully selected and developed general managers to become his trusted business partners, and in my case, eventually much more. I became one of those partners when we purchased a Lexus dealership in Denver. In 1996, Wayne began having conversations with me about the future of our business, as well as the changes in our industry. Eventually, my friend and mentor told me he wished for me to succeed him as CEO and shared his unique vision for a transfer of his ownership to a charitable foundation, a vision that would be fully realized when the company sold prior to my retirement. From 1999, when I succeeded Wayne as CEO, until his death from lung cancer in 2006, Wayne devoted much of his time to the realization of his vision to donate his entire company ownership to create a lasting charitable benefit. This became the greatest honor of my life, to steward the sale of one of the largest privately owned dealership groups in the country 10 years after Wayne's passing, and then to lead the charitable entity he envisioned, the Kuni Foundation. The sale of Kuni Automotive in 2016 created one of the largest private foundations in the Northwest. In addition, a donor-advised fund was opened at the Community Foundation for Southwest Washington that complements the work of the Kuni Foundation. The Kuni Foundation's first Vancouver project was to build Stevens Place, named in honor of Stephen Kuni. This unique housing empowers adults experiencing intellectual and developmental disabilities to live independently within a thriving community. Michael Kuni, his brother, spent happy years there and made many friends before he got his wings in 2023. Since 2017, the Kuni Foundation has awarded $62 million in grants, supporting more than 220 projects and initiatives throughout rural and urban areas of Oregon and Washington. Honoring Joan's commitment to inclusion for people with IDD, the Kuni Foundation has funded 110 projects and initiatives that advance opportunities through housing, employment, education, health, and social connections. Wayne's entrepreneurial spark also drives our funding of bold and inclusive approaches to cancer research. The foundation has invested more than $46 million in 118 projects that fuel innovation, advance discovery, and improve outcomes for rural, tribal, and urban areas. Thank you. We also maintain deep roots in Clark County. A recent $1 million grant to the City of Vancouver will develop an inclusive playground in the Fruit Valley neighborhood next year. This playground will be named in honor of Elizabeth Austin, a champion of inclusive play, who we lost to cancer in 2021. The Kuni Foundation's tagline, "Powering Potential," is more than a slogan. It reflects the remarkable lives and generosity of its founders, Wayne and Joan Kuni. Knowing them certainly changed my life and the lives of my family. Their legacy continues to improve the lives of thousands of members of our community. Individuals that Wayne and Joan saw as deserving of their care and support. I and my colleagues at the Kuni Foundation, including our foundation president, Angela Hult, who's here tonight, and Angela, and she's really the one that should be up here. Director of Grants and Programs, Robin Shuey, is also with us. and my fellow board members, Sean Kuni, John Hunter, and Matt Newell, and we're all privileged to work on behalf of Wayne and Joan's legacy. We offer sincere thanks and congratulations to the Community Foundation for Southwest Washington on reaching its 40th year of service to our region. We're grateful to Matt Morton and his predecessor, Jennifer Rhodes, and every member of the staff and board for their partnership, collaboration, and support. Thank you.
Yep, there's notes here. How unusual for me. You know, I was just going to share my experience with the foundation. Before this board, I'd been on several boards where the programs really had you connected directly with the kids. So you got to go out there and you got to see and feel it, and you really could see the impact. Now, in 2011, before I joined the board, I knew nothing about this organization. I had heard very little about it. The only thing I knew is that they managed people's money, and that was it. And then I joined the board. David Nirenberg talked me into it. So after the first board meeting, I met with Rick and I go, I don't get it. What do you people do here? I really didn't understand it. And he says, Mark, this is a little different than what you've done. Give it a little time. So I decided that I would go to the investment meeting. Now, that is not my wheelhouse. I know nothing about it. And after 10 minutes with 12 really smart people, I'm sitting there going alphas and betas and derivatives and algorithmic something or others. I have no idea what they are talking about. And then it comes to me, I was brought on the board to dumb it down. Buy low, sell high, meeting over, let's go home. Now, shortly thereafter, that's a true story, by the way. And what I didn't tell you was after a half hour, I left the meeting. I got up and smiled and I go, I'm in the wrong meeting. So shortly thereafter, then we started talking to people in the community, and we went through that process of finding out, what do you really want from the foundation? What do you see in its future? What would you like to see? And the message became very clear that they wanted more and a broader connection to the community. And that was the transformation that John and Karissa were talking about. It was a journey that Jennifer led us on for several years, and it was a different way of thinking. To me, the transformation was simple. It was about people. You know, evolve voices and get people involved that don't think like you. Get different expertise, different experiences with the people that are directly involved with the people we're trying to help. You know, it was a process of listening, learning. There were a few difficult conversations. And then you had these breakthroughs, these moments of clarity where it was clear where we were going. You know, it became a vision where it would really enhance our relationship with the donors and really give us a broad base in the community. Those relationships helped the foundation brighten every corner of the community. I'm involved because I truly believe the foundation is really the heart and soul of the community. It brings together all these passionate people. We do good work, we help our neighbors, and we help people that will never even know their name. It happens because everyone here gives their time. To me, our greatest accomplishment isn't 40 years, it isn't 380 million in assets, it isn't the cool statistics. Our greatest accomplishment is that individuals sitting out there who can't see tomorrow. They struggle through today. And then we come together, we give them hope, we give them help, and we improve their life. Our connection with that individual is our greatest accomplishment. Thank you. And now I would like to focus on another organization that is built on personal connections, I want to welcome to the stage Deanna Green and Elizabeth Najera, and they're here to tell us about the impact created when people invest, when people make personal investments in other people. Ladies?
Thank you, Mark. We are turning to I for I Have a Dream. Congratulations. You have been selected to be part of the I Have a Dream program. If you stay in school, work hard, and graduate from high school, you will receive a scholarship to help you pay for college. In 1995, Mary Granger launched the I Have a Dream of Southwest Washington by making this announcement to 64 fourth graders at Washington Elementary School, with support from her husband Dick and several generous sponsors. Thank you, Leslie. They went on to support a total of 333 students who we call Dreamers across 4 schools. That promise of a scholarship became a belief in possibilities, a hope for the future. In partnership with Vancouver Public Schools, I Have a Dream also provided low-income students with comprehensive programming that empowered them to achieve their academic dreams. My job was to coordinate those efforts, which included tutoring, social gatherings, enrichment activities, leadership development, community service, college and career readiness, and even more. Did I mention it was comprehensive? Donors, volunteers, and staff were invested in these students. At the point where our lives intersected, we were able to come alongside and meet their individual needs. Whether it was getting a pair of running shoes for track, an alarm clock, or a bus pass to get to school on time, or researching safe shelters and drug rehab programs. This commitment turned out to be life-changing for all involved. Now, 30 years on, this group has become a family.
How many of you talk and hang out with your elementary school friends? At my table tonight, I have lifelong friends whom I've known for the better part of 30 years. My fellow dreamers. The years leading to our graduation were filled with memories of field trips, Christmas parties at Leslie Durst's house, community service projects, birthdays, and so much more. Along the way, others joined our close-knit group. Deanna Green, our project director, joined us in 6th grade. She became many dreamers' safe space. There were volunteers who gave of their time, sponsors who gave resources, time, and support, and everyone opened up their homes and hearts to us. I want to let you know the impact and connections we forged through I Have a Dream have been invaluable. And I would like to ask all sponsors, children of sponsors, volunteers, and dreamers here tonight to please stand. Thank you. Thanks to these people, I began to dream bigger. When I stepped on the Western Washington University campus in the summer of 2002 as part of a college tour with the Dreamers, it was a beautiful day, the sky was blue, it was sunshine, and the view of the bay that was so picturesque. In that moment, I knew I was going to college no matter what. That meant something different for me. I'm a Mexican immigrant and first-generation college student, the oldest of 7 and a woman. Culturally, all of this made dreaming bigger a daunting task. The program also sparked a deep sense of purpose in me. I remember volunteering at countless community service projects throughout middle and high school and seeing the philanthropic endeavors of our sponsors. Today, I keep dreaming bigger. Giving back to the community has become second nature, and I'm continually inspired by our sponsors. I'm reminded when I drive past the Ed and Dolly Lynch building, when I see a sponsor name on a plaque. And even when I sat in the Durst Theater at VSAA this past spring, to watch my children's choir performance. I know without a doubt that when you give back in any capacity, it creates a ripple effect for generations to come, and as a community, we all reap the benefits.
For I Have a Dream, this ripple started by focusing on children with the least opportunity and addressing potential gaps early on. Like Elizabeth, most dreamers in this project did not have a family member who had graduated high school. These students' expected graduation rate was 50%. They beat the odds. 89% of that class graduated on time. Even better, 70% of them went on to pursue post-secondary. Today, the dream is living, thriving, and multiplying. Dreamers are serving youth and families in their careers and volunteering in their community. 2 are attending their own children's high school graduation tonight. Elizabeth is a shining example. She owns her own accounting firm and volunteers her time providing, let me back up because this is about Elizabeth, not my crying. Elizabeth is a shining example. She owns her own accounting firm and volunteers her time providing for small businesses, consulting, and financial literacy workshops in our community. She also volunteers as the executive director of the Latino Community Resource Group, LCRG. In this role, she worked tirelessly to get critical aid to the communities that were affected the most during COVID. Last Saturday, the LCRG team and Fourth Plane Forward hosted a beautiful, record-breaking multicultural fair where 78 vendors provided critical aid, vital services, and information to 540 attendees. The dreamers are paying it forward as they are raising their own children and fostering the value of education.
I believe investing in people yields the highest return. The first to reap the benefits of I Have a Dream were my siblings. 7 high school graduates, 6 of us going on to higher education. My niece will graduate next year with a high school diploma from Union and an associate's from Clark College. Through my children, my career, and my community involvement, I'm paying it forward in my own way. Working with nonprofits has provided some of the most rewarding times of my life. I'm not sure if Mary Granger and our other sponsors knew how all this would come full circle or what to expect, but I know that they would be so proud to hear about all we've done and all that we'll continue to do in whatever city or community we find ourselves in.
The I Have a Dream program fulfilled its commitment to dreamers in 2017, but the story continues. Its executive committee, led by Leslie Durst, chose to establish a scholarship with the remaining funds. Today, the I Have a Dream Scholarship in honor of Mary and Dick Granger is keeping the dream alive. Managed by the Community Foundation, this scholarship serves every student in the community, especially low-income and first-generation students. Dreamers, their children, and those from foster care backgrounds receive special priority. Another generation is now experiencing the hope of scholarship, and the impact is already growing. Recently, the son of a dreamer who benefited from the scholarship had applied to a specialized automotive program with the scholarship. He's now the youngest employee on the Tesla design team. As Mary often said, onward and upward. The I Have a Dream Scholarship honors her legacy and all those who became part of the I Have a Dream family, and I couldn't be more proud to help carry it long into the future. As the scholarship coordinator at the Community Foundation for Southwest Washington, I get to bring the dream of higher education within reach of students every day. This means I see what access provides and how it changes people's lives. To me, education is part of a flourishing community. But as we pause for a short conversation break, we want to hear your vision for a flourishing community. So share with your table mates, and then tell us on the screens behind us. You'll see a QR code. We'd love to see your responses, so scan it and share your thoughts before the night is over. Now onward and upward.
I can do it. I can do it. Hi, everybody. Now it's time for the future. My name is Susan Dingle, and I'm from New York. Any New Yorkers in the house? Let me hear my New Yorkers. No, not so much. It's the Pacific Northwest. This is such a beautiful gathering, and I'm so grateful to be here. I moved out to the Pacific Northwest in 2020. I had been widowed for 1 year. My family invited me to move out here. I was so excited to live near the grandchildren, but I forgot that when grandchildren become teenagers, you're no longer a celebrity. So I moved out in the middle of the pandemic as a widow for a year to the other side of the country where I knew no one. What could possibly go wrong? I'm so grateful that having been here for only 3 years, I have finally met the people that I think I came out here to meet. And I just am so happy to be with you all tonight. This is a really beautiful event. And yes, indeed, indeed. And the thing is, I came here to present a poem to you, but we've heard all evening so many poems, haven't we? All these beautiful projects. So there's a lot of poets in the house, and thank you all for sharing your words with us. This is a poem that I wrote for this evening. It's called Shine On. I remember where I came from, morning pulses in the drumming circle, rivers of light shimmer in the hills, home of the forever people, but I am blind. Thick smoke from factories suffuses air and water, suffocates the hills, and my heart breaks with sorrow. Yet love can spring from broken places, seeds of light, the beginning of philanthropy. 40 years ago, in a dark recession, these seeds of light take root as hope begins to bud and flower, a new foundation for community. Donors fund a land bridge, restore a park, provide housing for the unhoused, open food banks, bring healing to those they serve. But when pandemic darkens the land, racism's disparities come to light, losses out of proportion among people of color. They console their neighbors even as they grieve. Even as they grieve, they rise, seek justice, organize, and find an ally. The Community Foundation for Southwest Washington shifts focus, and their generosity turns toward justice like a flower drawn toward light. Now aligned, committed as allies, partners attracting more donors and volunteers than ever before. As allies, we meet the coming days where a vision formed in generosity, furnished by justice, shines on, that every community might flourish. Indigenous, immigrant, refugee, Latina, Hispanic, Asian Pacific Islander, Black, Caucasian, LGBTQ+, we say our names. Where all are seen and flourish, we shine on. As the drumming circle resounds the story, morning shimmers on rivers through the hills of Clark, Cowlitz, and Skamania counties. A thoughtful community where your address doesn't determine your access to a healthy life, good schools, and emotional stability. We will fear no darkness in the coming days, for generosity and justice guide us in ways to love our neighbor. As on this shining night, we celebrate the Community Foundation for Southwest Washington, and thank you for the vision you bring to light, that we might all shine on, blessed and beloved, one community. Together we shine on. Thank you. I just messed up the book. Okay. It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Absolutely. That was absolutely beautiful. Everyone, can we give a hand to the incomparable Susan Dingle, Clark County's Poet Laureate. Susan is a licensed clinical social worker, has published 2 books, and hosts Poetry Street Pacific Northwest, an open mic event held monthly at the Camas Library. If you want to learn more about Susan, you can find her at thepoetryofwellbeing.com. As for me, my name is Cristhian Canseco Juarez.
And for those of you that might have glanced at your program, I am not Vanessa Gaston. Vanessa, unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight. She wasn't feeling well, and so I am Kim Capeloto. And both Cristhian and I serve on the board of the Community Foundation of Southwest Washington, and we're here to tell you a little bit more about the vision for the Community Foundation and what we've been developing over the last several years.
It's bigger than us, though. This vision was created in partnership with local communities, nonprofits, donors, professional advisors, and other caring residents, many of whom are here with us today. We were mindful, engaging a broad cross-section of our community that reflected the demographics of our region.
So, first of all, where's Maury? Where are you? He's right over here. He's making us follow the script. I want to be real clear. So I told him I wouldn't follow the script, and he said he could side tackle me right off the stage. So, Maury, that part, by the way, is not in the script. So just so you know, you're welcome. So as you've heard and seen tonight, we believe that the valuable insights that we need in order to run an organization like the Community Foundation for the Southwest Washington are located in the communities that we serve. That's where you get your best information. The board conducted in-depth surveys and interviews, and we sought input from a variety of institutions, organizations, and individuals. And we did a lot of listening. So neighbors from across Southwest Washington described the challenges and the strengths of our region and told us what local issues were most pressing for them.
We also invited people to share their perceptions and experiences with the Community Foundation. They described what we do well, where we can improve, and how we can best serve this region. What we heard was inspiring, and in some cases, complicated. Yet in every interaction, the message rang loud and clear. We all love this place, and we want to see it flourish.
And so while the process brought up some pretty tough conversations, we had some very challenging conversations with folks, it was also really energizing because as you're visiting with people, they're telling you what their passions are, what their thoughts are, what they would like to see happen in their community, and they have that ownership when you're talking to them. So we really want to know, where should we focus our efforts? If we are going to put this much time and effort into something, we want it to be impactful and we want it to work. So all of you that we interviewed and all of you that we met with, you were open and honest when we asked, and sometimes that meant we didn't hear exactly what we thought we were going to hear, but the candor was what we needed, and it just simply doesn't get any better than that. So in our strategic plan, Matt Morton, and you'll see the strategic plan at some point, but when you see that, Matt Morton talks a little bit about wayfinding. And that's a process, I think that's a pretty cool word, and it's a cool process. It's a process of locating, following, and discovering a route through to a destination. And that's actually exactly what we did in that process. We wayfinded our way through the entire, maybe wayfound, I'm not sure, but our way through the entire process and asked for people to give us clear, candid information and input, and we got it. But we didn't have all the answers, so even when you think you are going into a process and you think you know the path you're going to be on, we didn't have all the answers, but with every interview, we got a little bit closer. We found out a little bit more information that we needed. And one thing that I walked away with was kind of a renewed pride for this community overall, because when you get to go out and visit with a multitude of individuals and organizations, it's amazing what you learn. So our region, and look who I'm telling, but our region has some of the most generous and genuine people on earth. And it's an honor and it's a privilege to live here and be involved in this.
I completely agree, Kim. This plan and process re-energized our board and staff. Personally, it also reminded me of why I joined the board, which is about belonging. I have seen the vibrant cultures, languages, and traditions of communities of color face exclusion at times, hindering their prosperity in Southwest Washington. As we recognize the abundant resources and opportunities tonight, we must also remember that communities like mine have and continue to experience significant challenges. Having grown up in Vancouver during the early 90s, I intimately understand the challenges many immigrant families encounter daily. The struggles of navigating a foreign language, both parents working tirelessly to provide for their families, all while living with the perpetual fear of separation. I made a promise to myself that if given the chance, I would advocate for the future generation of immigrants settling in Vancouver. My hope is that they feel represented in the community and to foster a genuine sense of belonging where they can express their true selves authentically. For me, the Community Foundation's vision for the future demonstrates a commitment to these values. Despite encountering many obstacles, they are dedicated to making Southwest Washington a place where everyone can truly feel at home.
100%, yeah. 100% true, Cristhian. We're incredibly grateful to the communities and all of you. I know the staff, fellow board members, and the Strategic Planning Committee, we all dedicated a lot of time and effort to this, like months and months and months to this project. And we just want to say that we really appreciate the input, we appreciate the support, and we simply couldn't do what we want to do to make this community a better place without each and every one of you. So thank you.
What came out of this long, difficult process is a plan for the future that builds on our past. And to share more about the vision, we're proud to pass the mic to Matt Morton, president of the Community Foundation. Welcome, Matt.
Cristhian, thank you so much. Vanessa, you look rough. Go home. You're not well. I'm so sorry, Kim. I couldn't. So, by now, you probably have a good sense for how this community foundation has grown over the last 40 years. By caring for our community, collaborating with a broad cast of characters, and fostering the spirit of giving, we've created an amazing legacy. Impact. It has always been our guiding light. It was there when Mary Granger wanted better for her neighbors. It's why Paul Christensen has supported our strategic grant making for 30 years. It was built into Wayne and Joan Kuni's gift and is reverberating into the future through people like Deanna and Elizabeth. Now, it's pressed into our vision for the future, a vision of a flourishing and just community. And while our vision is new, it is just a honing and iterating of the decades of charitable efforts you've heard about tonight. As you heard just now, our board and staff and partners and our neighbors have helped map our route. In that process, one thing that came out loud and clear was that we should continue to do what we do best, growing community assets. And while this includes raising more charitable funds in our region, of course it does, we're also looking at assets in a more holistic, inclusive way. Simply put, we want to draw more people into this work. Last year, I attended a powwow at Clark College, shout out to Clark College, that illustrates, I think, this in an important way. I've been to hundreds of these powwows over the years, and this one struck me as different. People gathered as usual for the traditional round dance at the beginning of the powwow. The drummers and dancers took their place, and the audience stood and watched. Then, an invitation was made. The performers welcomed the rest of us into the circle. People stepped forward, if those of you who were there remember, some a bit reluctant, but soon we were all dancing. By sharing that moment, and frankly that movement, people from all walks of life learned and they laughed, and they left with a stronger bond and a much deeper understanding of the value of culture. The round dance is intended to build community, much like the tradition of giving. It's why so many have partnered with the Community Foundation, and my words don't even come close to capturing the gratitude that we hold for our donors and our fund holders. Those lasting contributions are remarkable. But I think there's one way the next generation can say thank you in a most meaningful way, by picking up the mantle of local giving. Just as generations before have done for us, we need to show our care for this community. But let me put a pin in that right now. We'll come back to it later. First, there's more to say about our vision and the impact we're creating. As you might know, for nearly a decade, we've been directing the bulk of our strategic grant making into disrupting the cycle of intergenerational poverty. Our commitment to this focus area will continue in a deeper way as we look to expand economic opportunities. We've talked a lot about helping people across opportunities, access opportunities and resources so they can find and pursue their purpose. One way we're doing this is through building capacity, both in an individual level and an organizational level. And let me share just a couple of examples of this. One example begins with a software engineer named Min Pham, a first-generation immigrant who has an infectious love for education. As board president of the Vietnamese community of Clark County, Min has built its youth development program into the Viet Innovation Club, or VIC for short. 4 years ago, the club was operating one class out of a basement. With strong partnerships and funding from the Community Foundation, Min and his team have expanded to 4 classrooms, and now every Saturday, about 120 students visit Clark College to participate in VIC. It has, but that's not it. It has become a hub of mentorship, language classes, and technical training where volunteer engineers teach computer programming to students and help them discover that joy of learning. Investments in culturally specific programs like VIC reduce language and learning barriers at the speed of trust, allowing students to find their passions, achieve greater outcomes, and prepare themselves to access these in-demand jobs in the future. In addition, the Vietnamese community of Clark County operates a senior health and wellness outreach program and hosts a variety of cultural festivities, which some of those you may have attended yourself, including the New Year Festival. In building capacity to expand these vital programs, they're also building resilience in our region's growing Vietnamese community, a community that is an asset to our region. Yes. Similar stories are playing out each year with dozens of our grantee partners, like Culture Seed in Skamania County, where a skill-based training initiative is partnering with local business to offer internships for underserved youth interested in outdoor recreation. You also heard earlier from Elizabeth tonight, whose Latino Community Resource Group is opening access to higher education for Latinx students by visiting local campuses and festivals with skilled translators who can help families navigate these complicated and complex student aid applications. As you can see, we actually don't need to be prescriptive in how we serve our communities. We need to be attentive. We need to listen to their goals and their solutions. We also have to drill down into systems if we want to change, if we want to be better and have a brighter future. This ties into our third element for a flourishing community, advancing equity and justice. We believe truly that people should have the ability to chart their own course and participate fully in our community. Today, many of us, particularly those of us in this room, have that privilege, but that's not the case for everyone. So why is this important? Just take a moment and imagine if Mary wasn't able to wield her influence to launch this organization, or if any of the impact stories we've heard tonight hadn't come to light. Let it sink in. That would not only disrupt the trajectory of individual lives, but of the entire community. I think we all recognize that we are better off when our neighbors feel empowered and supported as they strive towards their dreams. Yet looking at housing, for example, we can tell that fewer of our neighbors are finding the stability and safety needed to thrive. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I think we do what we do best in Southwest Washington. We develop our own innovative idea that complements our current work and our past successes. Tonight, I'm incredibly proud to introduce the SWIFT initiative. Now, before you say anything, I need to give a nod to our late board member, Alan Weinstein, and our dear friend, Rona Senhas. You can clap for them, absolutely. Who once led an organization with a similar name. And I assure you, this SWIFT initiative is very, very different. I mean, it has 2 eyes, right? Now, we're not going to win any innovation awards for that, but it's important what those 2 eyes stand for, and that's impact investing. A strategy that will allow our region to leverage its charitable dollars in ways that can fast-track things like housing development and enable our community-based organizations to scale up so they can better address our region's most pressing issues. Let's take a look at how it works.
Data show a widening opportunity gap across all aspects of life in Southwest Washington. Whether it's access to living wage jobs, educational attainment, or stable housing, paths to economic security are harder to find and navigate for a growing number of our neighbors. What if we could light the way? What if we could use charitable dollars to accelerate affordable housing development and help local nonprofits expand pathways to opportunity for our region's most vulnerable communities? What if we could do this while generating financial returns and use the returns to do even more good? With smart, swift investments, we can. This is why the Community Foundation for Southwest Washington launched its SWIFT initiative, which uses fast and flexible philanthropic capital to provide low-interest loans that can help local nonprofits finance high-impact projects and programs. SWIFT's targeted loans help affordable housing providers overcome barriers like pre-development costs, which can unlock major financing to open more doors to housing faster. In other cases, they provide nonprofits with capital to scale proven programs in ways that create bridges to more permanent funding and long-term sustainability. Every investment made creates a significant social benefit and provides a modest financial return as loans are repaid. And the benefits multiply over time, with returns being channeled back into your charitable fund or reinvested into the SWIFT initiative to support ongoing community-based impact investments. In these ways, the SWIFT initiative opens new opportunities for neighbors and nonprofits and allows us to reinvest in our communities over and over again. We can all play a part in this cycle of impact. So reach out to invest in your community through the SWIFT initiative and help transform Southwest Washington for the better.
SWIFT is more than just a financial tool. It's a catalyst for social and economic justice. Imagine a community where everyone has a place to call home, where every child can dream of a brighter future, and where every person has the opportunity to build a life of dignity and purpose. This is the vision behind our strategic plan, and it's the vision driving this SWIFT initiative. Every dollar invested fuels a sustainable cycle of impact. This means that your support can continue to make a difference, not just once, but over and over again. And over the next year, the Community Foundation is committed to deploying $1.5 million of our discretionary dollars to the initiative, with the goal of increasing the amount to $5 million with the help of our donors. Thank you. So in that spirit, and as we finish our celebration this evening, I want to circle back to what I said about growing community assets. This is your invitation. We're calling you in to join in transforming Southwest Washington so that future generations can look back at their past and share our stories. Whether it's investing in the SWIFT initiative, establishing a bequest gift, donating to our community giving fund, or opening your own charitable fund, we're calling in all givers to help us build more community. If you're already connected, please reach out to someone who isn't and tell them about our work. And if a financial contribution is just out of reach for you, we welcome your voice, your experience, and most importantly, your purpose. With a just and flourishing future as our guiding light, we will create a brighter future for all. Friends, that is our evening. Shine on.